What's up, guys? Today on Sports Spectrum, I got a pretty cool conversation coming your way with Anna Hall, who is a United States heptathlete, and she competes in the heptathlon, the pentathlon, the 400 meters, the 400 meter hurdles. In college at the University of Florida, she's a three-time U.S. national champion and won two NCAA Division I titles. Her heptathlon and pentathlon, those are tough words. Her best scores placed her fifth and fourth on the respective world all-time list, and the only woman to break 6,700 points in the heptathlon and run under 55 seconds in the 400 meter hurdles. Anna Hall is preparing for the 2024 Summer Olympics, and we hope to be cheering her on as a representative of the United States. And she's coming up in just a moment here on Sports Spectrum. She's going to be talking to my colleague today, John Ackerman, our managing editor at Sports Spectrum. So John and Anna are going to have a great conversation here today on the show. First, I want to remind you about our Sports Spectrum magazine. You can go to sportspectrum.com right now and subscribe. You can get it for a 1-year subscription and get 15% off. We keep it very affordable, but give you a little bit of a bonus just by listening to this podcast. Use the code podcast15, podcast15, and subscribe to our Sports Spectrum magazine, which is faith-filled, family-friendly, clean sports content. Where else are you going to find that? I don't think anywhere, especially if you're a sports fan. Not all the content for our kiddos when they're reading about sports is clean content. Well, not only that, but this is faith-filled content as well, keeping Jesus in the sports conversation. You can subscribe to Sports Spectrum's magazine right now over at sportspectrum.com and put in that code podcast15, podcast15, and save 15% off a 1-year subscription. You can go there right now and subscribe at sportspectrum.com.
Welcome back to Sports Spectrum. Today we've got a great guest with us, Anna Hall, U.S. heptathlete. Anna, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually in Highlands Ranch, which is your hometown, or where you went to high school. You now live in Florida, you told me. You get back to Colorado very much these days?
Not too much, unfortunately. I've gone back for Thanksgiving every year since I left, and then recently my parents also relocated to Florida. So now the Colorado trips are few and far between, but I miss it very much.
Yeah, well, it's a lot warmer in Florida, I'm sure. But yeah, the Sports Spectrum offices here in Highlands Ranch are located just right down the road from where you went to high school at Valor Christian. And well, wanted to chat with you. Paris Olympics are right around the corner. You're currently the world's #1 ranked heptathlete, which is awesome going into the Olympics. You hoping to make your Olympic debut this summer. You're only 23, so you haven't been to the Olympics just yet, but hoping to make your Olympic debut this summer. And of course, I obviously want to talk about the Olympics and those events coming up. But first of all, I want to talk to you about heptathlon. It's maybe not a well-known event or sporting event to a lot of typical American sports viewers, but heptathlon is comprised of those 7 different events. It basically determines who the world's greatest athlete is, I would say, because you got to run, you got to throw, you got to jump, all to compile points, and winner of the most points wins the gold medal. Of those 7 events, so heptathlon's 7 events. Of those 7 events, which one of those would you say is your favorite, or maybe which one comes easiest to you?
Ooh, I would say high jump probably came the easiest to me. That was like the event I started when I first started track when I was 7. So, always been a little bit of a natural there. And then also the 800, which is a pretty rare combo. But yeah, when I was younger, I did high jump and cross country. So, I think it came from that.
What's your least favorite of those?
Um, I would say my least favorite is probably javelin, just because that's my weakest of the 7, which is why it's my least favorite. But as I've matured in the sport, I kind of had to learn to love all of them because you spend so much time at every one.
Yeah. How did you get into heptathlon? I mean, obviously you said you got into track at a young age. I mean, most young kids kind of get into team sports, basketball, soccer, those types of sports. And the people who get into to track are typically specialize, in like sprints or in field events like javelin or hammer throw or whatever, or the jumping events like triple jump, high jump. But obviously, heptathletes have to do all of that. How did you get into heptathlon? Um, was it younger in your younger days? Was it in high school? What led you to get into heptathlon?
Yeah. I did my first heptathlon the summer after my freshman year of high school. So up until that point, I was doing tons of different events in track. I was playing soccer, basketball, volleyball, lacrosse, field hockey, swimming. I tried like everything. I was like the busiest little kid ever. But I loved it. And then I would say I got into the heptathlon just out of stubbornness, honestly. Because when I was little and I was doing high jump and the 1500, those were like my two favorite events. And like those are not, they just don't go together. And I remember I told my dad, I think we were watching, it was the Beijing Olympics in 2008 when I was 7. I was like, I'm going to be the first person to do like high jump and 1500 at the Olympics. And he was like, no, you're not. Like that doesn't happen. And he was right, but I never wanted to stop doing the jumping. I never wanted to stop running. And then as soon as I tried hurdling and throwing, I didn't want to stop anything. So they let me try it, and then I just loved it.
Okay, I would assume all those other team sports that you played as well, like soccer and volleyball, but like that had to just help you. I mean, you're obviously a very good all-around athlete. Did playing all those different sports, does that help you even to this day?
I think so. I think honestly, mentally more than anything, I feel like playing so many different sports, I just have been in so many different high pressure situations that are asking different things of you that I think I learned a lot from all of those sports and took that into track, and it helped a lot. And then also when I was young, it just kept things like fun. I was never like super serious on one. I knew I wanted to be a big time athlete. But I went from practice to practice. I would go to swimming, to track, to soccer, and for me, it was just fun. Yeah.
All right, so you end up going to well, started at the University of Georgia, later transferred to Florida, which is still where you currently live and train. Left college as a two-time national champion, and from there, it's kind of assumed in track and field sports that you'll go on to the Olympics. Um, but you're clearly at that level. But like we said, you haven't made the Olympics yet. You're 23 years old, but the summer is your first opportunity to qualify for the Olympics. When would you say it hit you that you could become an Olympian? Was it in college? Was it earlier than that? Or has it hit you? Like, when did you think that I've got a shot at becoming an Olympian?
Yeah. Weirdly, I don't know where the confidence came from when I was young, but I remember being I might have been like 10, and at one of our like club track practices, our coach told us to like write down, it was like our goals for the year, PRs and stuff like that. And then she was like, write some long-term goals too. And I remember I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go to the Olympics. And I just was like, yep, like that's my plan. And so at that point, that was a little bit of delusion, but I would say it really hit me probably my freshman year of college when I kept seeing improvements. And at the time, I went to Georgia for a coach that was really well known for taking people to the Olympics. And I think that's a very formative time in track people's careers. A lot of people go to college and either go like shoot up, or they just stay the same. And so when I started improving there, I kind of knew like, oh, okay, this is like actually a possibility.
Well, and you mentioned the Beijing Olympics, and watching those games when you were a kid. And I think that I'm talking to a number of Olympians. That's kind of how a lot of the dreams start for a lot of Olympians is watching the Olympics. There's just something sort of majestic about the Olympics, about competing for your country and all these countries coming together in one place to compete. Would you say that was the same for you? Like kind of just watching the Olympics as a young athlete kind of inspired your dreams to one day become an Olympian?
Absolutely. I remember watching with my dad and my sisters, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And that's what really like planted, I feel like that dream in my head was seeing it and like feeling it. We watched the opening ceremonies, and I was just like, this is so cool. So yeah, it's kind of weird to think about that I'm like, oh, okay, now I have a chance to be in a games where someone else is probably like 7 or 8 and watching that, and that might be their moment of this is what I want to do too. So
Yeah. Well, I've got a 9-year-old daughter, and I know we'll be watching the Olympics this summer, and so I'll be telling her to watch Anna Hall for sure.
yeah.
Um, so aside from the Olympics, the World Championships are the biggest event for heptathletes, for track and field athletes. You are the reigning or World Championship silver medalist. You took silver last year at Budapest. Took bronze the year before that. But I understand you were a little bit banged up last year at Worlds, and still took the silver medal. I guess take us back to that. Like what happened at Worlds, and I mean because of that, like knowing you're a little bit banged up and still took a silver medal, does that feel like you've got more in you for this summer?
I would definitely say that one, it stung a lot. So it definitely left me very hungry for this summer. Going into Worlds last year, I think was my first time ever being like a favorite on the global scale, and I was super excited. And then unfortunately, about 4 weeks, I think, before Worlds, I had an accident in practice and I hyperextended my knee on a wet long jump board. So got the scan done on all the things, like did everything we could. And so I ended up competing on like a partially torn PCL and like bone bruise, just a bunch going on in my knee. But ultimately my team decided like it was the world championships, it's worth it. So that wasn't the most comfortable heptathlon that like I've ever done, but I was super proud of like the fight that we were able to give. But now I think I'm also learning that on this level as a combined eventer and the way we train for so many events, it's very rare that I think people go into Worlds or the Olympics like 100% healthy. And so I might have been on like the lower end of the people there health wise, but everybody goes in with something hurting. Like we just train too hard for that not to be the case. So I definitely wasn't the only one there managing something, but feeling like that world championship was kind of taken from me by my knee a
Yeah.
little bit definitely makes me hungry to see what I can do this year.
Well, I watched a little bit of that competition, and I mean, you were in it. It came down to the very last event, and what's the last event? The 200,
It's the 800 meters.
the
Yep.
800. Okay, and I think what did it come down to? You had to win by 3 seconds or something, and you could have secured the gold, but you only won by 2 seconds or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, is that was a competition, or the gold medalist was a woman from Great Britain, is that right? Is she still your kind of chief competition this summer?
Yeah, definitely. Her name, well, she goes by KJT, but her name's like Katarina Johnson Thompson. And she's actually somebody who I was watching in high school, and was like one of my biggest idols in track. And also one of her like best events is the high jump. So she was always somebody I kind of like modeled my career after. So it's super cool that like now she's my competition the last few years. But yeah, she's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. And then there's a girl from Belgium who's the reigning Olympic champion. So it'll definitely be a big battle. But I'm super excited.
Well, like I said, we'll certainly be watching you this summer. So best of luck to you in trials and in the Olympics. And I'd love now to kind of shift our conversation into faith. That's what we do here at Sports Spectrum. We love to talk sports. We love to talk faith. And on your Instagram profile, where you can describe yourself in a few words, you put follower of Christ. And I've heard you talk about your faith here and there publicly. So just love to ask, who is Jesus Christ to Anna Hall?
To me, he is my Lord and Savior. Jesus is the reason that we're here and that, we're able to have hope. And that affects all aspects of my life, but definitely sports as well. And so for me, that's been something that I've started to get more comfortable sharing and my own growth in my faith over the last few years, and definitely a huge, huge part of my life.
I'd love to hear, just a bit of your testimony. Like, how did you come to faith in Christ?
Yeah, I would say I had a head start by growing up in a pretty Christian household, which I definitely think helps plant the seed. And then I would say, I think I thought my faith was my own in high school, but it really wasn't. And then I went to college at Georgia, and there I like kind of dabbled in continuing it. You know, I went to church sometimes. Like I had friends that were Christian, but it was just kind of something I did. And then the year that I transferred to Florida, I found a church here that I really, really love, and I would say that's when I made my faith like fully my own and like dove in, and I'm actually seeking out the Lord and not just, you know, going to church because I'm supposed to or and things like that. And upon doing that, I saw like just a huge difference in my life. And that year that I transferred, I actually fell at Olympic trials in 2021. And so that I was like, I had an outside shot to make the team. I was really young, but that was like crushing. And I just like could not understand like what was happening. My coach left the school I was at. I transferred. It was just like so much going on. And I think my faith was what brought me through that. And I just like grew stronger in my faith through that and knowing that there was a plan for later, and then was able to bounce back from that injury incredibly well coming into the next year and doing really well at Worlds and that surprise first bronze medal. And yeah, I feel like that ended up being kind of just a visual that I use for like the rest of my life. Like when something goes wrong, I'm like, there's something better coming. If you just like stay faithful. So yeah.
That's how many of us grow is are through trials. You know, when we're tested, when we're challenged, that's how the Lord grows us many times. Um, you mentioned kind of your faith, thought your faith was your own in high school going into college. As we mentioned, you went to high school here in Colorado, and it's a Christian high school. And I know that the word is preached at Valor Christian High School. Um, did that did those years at Valor kind of help you in your faith, like strengthen you in your faith before going off to college? Or I mean, was it the opposite, or how were those years in high school?
Yeah. I think they did a really good job of you know, educating us and not making it like they didn't like force it down anybody's throats or anything. So I think it gave me a great educational background of I knew what stuff was. I knew stories in the Bible really well. And just where I was in my own faith journey, I don't think like in hindsight, I'm like I had decided to really like want to live that out. But it gave me the background and kind of like planted the seeds of like, okay, I know what this would look like if this is what I want to do.
Hmm.
So I think that was super, super important. And I'm, yeah, really thankful for those few years.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we're in high school, we're still living with our parents and going to church if they go to church. It's our lives aren't completely our own just yet. But when you go off to college, that's when you make those decisions for yourself. And I think that's when a lot of people really discover what they truly believe in when their faith does become their own. Um, so these days, I mean, you're not that far removed from college. What does being a follower of Christ look like for you today on a daily basis? Do you have a Bible study that you're going through, or daily devotionals that you read? Are you able to regularly attend church, or a small group? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. For me, I would say it's I regularly attend church. I really like my church here in Gainesville. I go with a lot of my training partners. We go on Wednesdays and Sundays as well. So that's been super fun and nice to have that little like midweek check-in. And then aside from that, like I do devotionals and just try to make sure that I'm taking time for myself to spend time in the Word. Which yeah, I think again that's something like until maybe 2 years ago, like a lot of Christians I think just don't open the Bible enough. And that was me too. I had only ever read devotionals. I never just straight up been like, I'm going to like read the word and like see what I think about it. And so I've just kind of made an effort to do that. And I think our pastor at church kind of equated it to a seed doesn't know what the water is when it's watering it. So it's like you just spend time in the word, even if you don't understand it yet, like eventually it's going to kind of sink in and transform your mind. So yeah.
Would you um would you say that there was like a defining moment when you kind of made that decision for Christ, or was it more of a gradual process?
For me, I would say it was a gradual process, but I would say the year of like falling and breaking my foot and in the transfer process and just so much change going on in my life is what spurred it. But then through there, I think I was just like searching for like some type of like hope and like something's going to be okay and like why is this happening and kind of fell into that like self-pity route. And then I think
Mhm.
it was a slow process after that of just starting to seek it out and starting to kind of understand more and give control away to God, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned going to church with a lot of your training partners there in Florida. I'm curious about on like the world circuit. So like you compete year round or not year round, but like you do a lot of events, obviously, other than just the Olympics or just World Championships. You're competing at events all over the world. Most of them are internationally, not here in the U.S. So you're competing on the world circuit. That's like the highest level for track and field on that world circuit, is there a Christian community? Is there like some fellowship that you're able to have? Maybe it's with fellow Americans, or are there other believers in other countries from other countries that you're kind of able to fellowship with when you're on the world circuit, or is that a challenge?
I would say there's a bit of both with Americans and people from other countries. There is kind of a group that I would almost say it's like an FCA for our circuit. I don't know how
Hmm.
else to describe it. And they lead like Bible studies sometimes at different meets. And then there's a few other Christian athletes I know, one particularly from Australia. Her name's Nicola Dearmont. She's a high jumper. She's really, really good and super, super strong in her faith. So definitely somebody that like I look up to and if we happen to be at the same meets, we'll like pray together beforehand and things like that. And then there are kind of the stable people we know and on the US team that will typically lead a Bible study like the night before the World Championships start or things like that. So it's a bit of fellowship there for sure.
I've heard of chaplains being at the Olympics. Chaplains are kind of like, pastors for like in the NFL or Major League Baseball, every team has like its own chaplain, which is kind of like their own pastor. Are there chaplains? I've heard of chaplains like at the Olympics or at world events. Have you seen that? Are there chaplains that you're able to kind of like do a Bible or do a chapel service with?
I have not seen that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's one at the Olympics, and that'll be something I find out this summer. But I guess I would say that like kind of fellowship group that is sometimes present on the circuit. I think they're from Poland, if I'm remembering correctly. It's a couple. They'll lead like services that I guess are similar to chapel, but I'm not exactly sure what their title is. So yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Um, my last question for you, and again, Anna, thank you for your time. I appreciate you taking some time to do this, especially in an Olympic year. But last question for you: what's God doing in your life right now? What's he teaching you? Is there something, anything that He's working on with you right now in this season of life that you're in?
Yeah, I would say I feel like I'm in a season of life of being like tested, and I think last year was like the beginning of that, and I was super nervous for like my first year as a professional. Like, okay, this is my job and like my livelihood now. It's not just like, oh, it's my sport, and it went really well, but I ended up like indoor season, I missed like the world record by 9 points. And then outdoor season, I missed like 7,000 points, which is this huge barrier by 12 points. And then I lost the world title by like 20 points. And it's just so many times last year where I was like so close to something that I've wanted for so long. And it's like just not quite there yet. And I actually write this on my spikes. Sometimes you can see it in pictures. I just kind of have been telling myself like everything's going to happen in his timing. And so I feel like I've been tested in that way. And then additionally, I'm not sure if you knew this or not, but I had a knee surgery in January. So I
Hmm.
missed this indoor season and I'm like working back from that. And when I found out like I was going to have to do that in an Olympic year is obviously like not ideal and a little bit
Yeah.
scary. There's like kind of those thoughts of like, oh, like that's not how like this is supposed to go. Like, why is this happening? And I think God's just testing me to see like did I learn almost like from the last time I went through this of like, can I trust him? Like, can I put it in his hands and be okay with what the outcome is, no matter what, as long as I'm using my story to inspire other people.
Wow, I wasn't aware of the knee surgery. Was it a major procedure, and just was it something that you're like, we've got to get this done before the Olympics, not something that you could wait until after the summer?
Yeah, it was at least a small knee surgery, but it's still surgery on your takeoff leg and the jumping event, so not a small deal by any means. But it was something that we knew, okay, to be able to train at the level I need to train at to give myself a shot at winning the Olympics, then we need to do this now. And so we made the decision to do that in January and skip the indoor world championships, which broke my heart a little bit, but super glad that we got it done. And I've been officially training back outside for 4 weeks now. So things are going well, but obviously coming back from any injuries, never the most fun. So been working through that.
Yeah, as we record this, we're recording this in the springtime, and so you've got a big summer coming up with trials and with the Olympics. And so, do you feel as if you're going to be able to compete at the level you're able to compete at? Like you feel like you're making the right type of progress that you need to be making?
I do. I feel really, really blessed by the people that I'm surrounded by. My surgeon and my coaches, we all met, and he literally said to my coaches, like, what week do you guys need her like cleared 100% ready to train at? And we worked back from there. And then he was like, okay, these are the things that like I can help with that will allow you to be cleared in that timeline. So definitely super grateful for my team. They've done absolutely everything that they can to rush the rehab along in a safe way. And, when my coaches tell me that if I have X amount of weeks training to be ready, I kind of just have to believe them. That's why I'm here and why I chose them as my coaches. So yeah, I think we're going to be ready.
Awesome. Great to hear. Well, again, Anna, thank you for your time. We'll be watching you this summer, cheering you on, and all the best to you. So thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And many thanks to Anna Hall for joining us today on Sports Spectrum. Cannot wait to cheer her on and all of the athletes representing the United States at the Summer Olympics coming up in a few months here. And just an exciting time. The Summer Olympics is always so much fun to watch, and athletes competing at the highest level. Anna Hall is going to be one of those, we hope, and we can't wait to cheer her on. Special thanks to my friend John Ackerman, our colleague here at Sports Spectrum, for sitting in and recording this conversation for me. And we appreciate John's efforts. And of course, our new Sports Spectrum magazine, our summer edition of the Sports Spectrum magazine, is coming your way very soon, if not already in your inbox. And if you haven't got your subscription yet, I highly recommend you do it today. Go to sportspectrum.com, subscribe to a 1-year subscription, put in the code podcast15, save an additional 15% off a 1-year subscription. It's already super cheap. It's like $24. And so when you put the 15% in, it comes to like $20 for 1 year. That's super cheap, but it's great. It's faith-filled. It's family-friendly. It's clean content, perfect for kiddos. Subscribe today to the Sports Spectrum magazine over at sportspectrum.com. And again, thanks for tuning in. We love you guys. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And please do tune in next time for another conversation here on Sports Spectrum.